just around. We must keep you from putting our kids in the ground, so we can't stand down. No, we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't stand down, brother. So we'll stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. 'Cause we know what's right. And we got plenty of fight. And if you think you're gonna keep pushing us around, well, you'll lose that crown. 'Cause we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've gotta stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. You know, it's pretty clear. If these lunatics think they have the right to strip us of our rights of self-defense, and if they're willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. No, we won't back down. Back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've gotta stand our ground, so we won't back down. No, we won't back down. Virginians, you won't fight this fight alone.
All right.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful, if not soggy, Memorial Day weekend. And I want to thank you for joining us. We've got Philip Van Cleve and Jill McDaniel, and letting my Southern come through.
Thanks. Awesome. What's up, Al?
And we may get a special guest. I have confirmation that he's coming, but he's not here yet. So if he does come, he'll pop in for a little bit. Mark Moran is supposed to join us for a little bit this evening. He is running against Mark Warner. So he has some good things to say, but I'm sure everybody wants to know, Philip, about the lawsuits and how these new laws are going to affect them.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's been a major thing. But before I start on that, too, I wanted to say it was a great weekend for Ravenna Rifle and Pistol Club. We raised $1,620 for VCDL. That's a great club. Really neat setup. If you have access to X, VCDL_org is the VCDL account that I post to. And I've got video and pictures of each of the 4 stages. It was all steel. And at first it looked like it was going to be raining all day. And it turned out to be much like the match that we had for VCDL in West Virginia near Winchester a month or so ago. It was this forbidding thing, and it had been raining earlier in the week and earlier that morning. And then when about the time the match was running, it was just overcast. Here comes the Union Pacific or whatever. At Pat's place. That's okay. So, anyhow, so the weather actually turned out nice. It was, it was maybe a light drizzle once in a while, but nothing really bad at all. So we had a great time. We had, I think it was about 45, 50 shooters out there. And, I did the pistol caliber carbine, but it was really my Flux 365 with as an arm brace, so they put that into as a pistol caliber carbine. But it was fun. We had a great time as always, and there were some new shooters there too. This is the first. Some of them hadn't been gun owners very long, and this is their first match ever. And I love seeing that. That's great seeing the new people coming in. And if you weren't addicted to guns before, you will be after a match like that. All those different targets is just so much fun shooting steel. And I think that may end up becoming an annual thing for Ravenna. I was talking to them about it. So we'll see next year. We may do it again. If so, I really highly recommend going out and attending that. It's just so much fun. And there may be some more. Go ahead, Pat.
If you're in the Charlottesville area, Ravenna Rifle and Pistol Club is a great range. I'm a member, even though it's a little over an hour from me, but it is inexpensive as far as annual dues go, and they have an indoor range, several outdoor ranges, plinking range, which I think was part of where your steel match was, and they have shotgun ranges as well, and very, very active range. They offer classes in a lot of different disciplines and matches and all sorts of things.
Yeah, so highly recommended too.
Right. I put their web address on the screen. It's RRPC for Ravenna Rifle and Pistol Club.org. So check them out. All
right. Well, Brian Jennings from Norfolk probably won't be a member there, but we're glad to see he's here. I got Dublin, Tommy Craig from Dublin checking in. Yeah, that's the nice thing about the virtual. We get to have people that normally we don't necessarily go in those areas very often. And we'll be working on where we'll be going in June, and we'll have an announcement on that. We haven't locked the place down 100% yet, so we'll let you know.
And if you want to have a meeting in your neighborhood, email president@vcdl.org, and it's up to you to find a location that is 2A friendly and can hold at least 50 people. These days, probably a little more is better. And get with Philip and set up a time and a date for a meeting. So.
Yep, absolutely. And we've now done, speaking another angle, we've now done 2 auctions. One is going to complete tomorrow at midnight. That was on a handgun with 2 17-round magazines. And that's been great. We've got more items that will be going up for auction. Tomorrow I should be picking up an AR style rifle, new one that's been donated by a member. So that'll be coming up probably next week for those of you that might be interested in getting an AR and a 30-round magazine to go with it, and so forth and so on.
The one that's currently up for auction is an Eric's, and that was donated by Eric's. And we also have a Bursa that was donated.
Yeah, that one will go up too. I'm going to put the AR next just because we're coming up on that July 1. I want to get that out to whoever wants it. So, well, we still can. After July 1, it won't be anything we could even give away. So that's good. That's working out well. We've got some very generous members out there. We really appreciate that with the fight coming up. So, yeah, and how all this is going to affect us is it's rather interesting. There were some changes, fortunately, and I don't have an explanation for it, but the governor had made the assault weapon ban. And again, I think I could sit here all day long with the damned air quotes. We all know assault weapon's a fake term. Assault firearm is in the law. That in Virginia law, it's in the law. You know, there's a thing they call an assault firearm. It's been there for a while. So they've had a definition. It wasn't nearly what it is now. Now it's got a lot more disqualifiers than it used to have. In the past, it was just a gun that had a magazine that would hold more than 20 rounds kind of thing. But the General Assembly rejecting the governor's changes to the assault firearm ban, while the whole thing is still bad, at least it was less bad because they rejected it. And I don't have a good explanation other than, you know, all of us screaming that we didn't want this in the first place. I don't know ultimately why, but they rejected her changes, and that would have made it much worse than it already is. if you can imagine that. So that helped, and there's been a lot of confusion, and I've even seen people that on YouTube and stuff that probably should have known a little bit better, but the problem is that the changes to that ban, the bills that did that, kind of happened right at the very end. The governor threw in some stuff, and a lot of people thought that was the final thing because maybe they weren't expecting the General Assembly to reject her changes. They assumed that they would just accept them and that this was going to be our future. But they rejected them, and that changed the outcome. At one time, you wouldn't have been able to carry a handgun. And it was, boy, her wording was horrible. I mean, we couldn't really tell if your handgun could accept a magazine that would hold more than 15 rounds. Would that have been an assault firearm that you couldn't carry? Her wording was horrible. It really wasn't clear, or if it just meant that you couldn't have a handgun with more than 15 rounds in it and carry it in public. But that got knocked out, so that's gone. So again, for those of you that there's any confusion, I'd like to clear that up. So number one, if you carry a handgun now and you have magazines that will hold more than 15 rounds now, and that's what you're carrying or that's what you own, whether you're carrying it or not, but you own it, it's yours. That's not going to change if it's a normal handgun. If you got an AR or an AK type handgun, no, that's not going to cut the mustard. But normal, I'm talking about SIG 365s or your just a whole variety of different standard guns that people are carrying out there. Those are fine. You can continue to carry them. You can continue to carry the high cap magazine. I say high cap, normal cap, really. Although I went and bought some very large, I would 25 rounders for some of my guns, but you can continue. So for those of you that are concealed carrying, assuming you're carrying just a normal handgun, then you can continue unchanged. The only thing that will change for you is that like hospitals are now going to be a place that you can't carry by law. Most hospitals were already marked with no guns, and they could ask you to leave under trespass if you didn't. So that you're not going to notice much there, except that now it's a law, so you could be charged with a class 1 misdemeanor. Where with trespass, you could have left and not gotten charged at all as long as you complied and didn't argue about it. So and the other thing was again college campuses. It's been the policy of most public college campuses that you couldn't carry in their buildings. But again, it was trespass if you were a visitor, and if you worked there, they could fire you, or if you were a student, they could expel you. But now it's going to be a class 1 misdemeanor if you carry in those buildings without permission. On the hospital side, that was another case where they rejected the governor's changes there. She made it so a hospital couldn't even have their own armed security. They could only call in the police if they wanted somebody armed. They could have unarmed security, which is, no security at all as far as I'm concerned. But that's how bad the governor's change were. Again, they rejected that. So some people that work for a hospital could be given permission by the hospital, like a security guard, or maybe even a doctor or a nurse could be given permission to carry, maybe in the ER or something. So it's bad from our point of view, but it got a little bit better from where it could have been because the General Assembly rejected her. I mean, the governor was putting in really bad stuff. I mean, if the General Assembly drove you crazy, the governor made everything worse. She just
so
did.
Much for being a moderate.
Yeah.
Philip,
Moderate tyrants.
We're getting a couple of questions quite frequently. One of them is, can people still buy like upper receivers with threaded barrels and things like that after this goes into effect on the 1st of July?
Yes. Go ahead. Sorry, Pat. Sorry.
And so, yeah, the answer is yes to that. But the other thing is people are asking if they have a lower, can they build it out after the 1st of July?
Yeah, according to our attorneys, that's not a good idea. You need to make the lower already qualify as an assault firearm before July 1. It has to
Right.
be enough stuff on it, like maybe put the floating or collapsible stock on it, or the pistol grip. You need to put one of those features on it to make it, and then you could add an upper because it's part of its understanding what manufacturing is. If a gun isn't considered an assault firearm and you put some changes in it, now you've manufactured an assault firearm. But if it's already an assault firearm and you change some parts out, like put an upper on it or change out some other components or put a different stock on it or whatever, that's not manufacturing. You're just making changes to an existing. You just can't create a new assault firearm and after July 1. That's the bottom line. So if you've got lowers, put just enough on there so it qualifies, and then you can get uppers later. But uppers should be available, absolutely. Parts should be available. We've been talking to a company that is going to be selling into Virginia a belt-fed uppers. And your gun can either be set up to be a single shot if it's an AR. You basically bolt action. You pull the trigger, they got the bolt handle is on the side with that. They give you a different upper in the sense that the upper hand has got a slight cut out for the bolt handle to come back, and so that becomes a single action. If you've got an existing assault firearm, then you can put a belt fed feature on there. That's fine. The belt fed in itself is the key here, and semi-auto. If it's not semi-auto, then belt fed doesn't matter. And the interesting thing is the company also sells links, so you can put your belts together. And right now you can put together a link with as much ammo as you want. And technically, after July 1, then you can only put together 15 links at a time because then you'd be creating ammunition feeding device, as they call it in the new law, that holds more than 15 rounds.
So, okay, Richard, or Rich 8804 or B804 is asking how are my 22 long rifle and 22 Magnum pistols impacted with the capacity and threaded barrel? So,
Okay. Go ahead, Pat.
the threaded barrel is not a problem because in the assault firearm section, it excludes rimfires. However, the magazine restriction does not exclude rimfire magazines. So the 15 round maximum magazine capacity even affects your Ruger 1022 or your SIG P322 or your Kel-Tec with the higher capacity, like the 16 round. There's a Taurus, a bunch of them that have more than 15 round magazines. So get your magazines for those now. The other question that we've had, we'll come back to the lawsuit questions because I'm sure that's on your list. But Richard Fish Guy asks, so what would happen if I got in a car accident, got hurt bad, ambulance takes me to the hospital, but I'm carrying concealed?
Yeah, the law I know made exceptions for people that were being TDO, temporary detention order, because of sanity issues. That if they were brought in and they had a firearm, that wouldn't count. The law isn't real clear, but as I would look at it, you're not intentionally bringing it in. I think you'd fall under that same exemption where you're brought in under conditions you had no control over. I don't think they would charge you with a class 1 misdemeanor for that because you'd have no control over that being on you. So I think you'd be okay.
All right, and then we did get the question about the lawsuits. So do you want to do that now, or is that something you're kind of leading up to?
Well, we can do it whenever. We could. We could go there on the lawsuit side. Okay, so we and GOA together filed our lawsuit against the assault weapon ban and the assault weapon carry prohibition, both of those, where you can't carry an assault firearm in public, you can't buy a new one, you can't buy new magazines that hold more than 15 rounds. All of that was filed in state court, and the ultimately it may well end up at the Supreme Court of Virginia. Our lawsuit made it clear that we are not arguing our case on the Second Amendment. We're arguing our case on Article 1, Section 13 of the Virginia Constitution. Ours is every bit as strong as the Second Amendment, and part of our law could bring in the Second Amendment as an the like where the government has said, well, you have to show a history and tradition, or the Supreme Court said you have to show a history and tradition before you can consider any kind of gun control as legitimate. That same holding for the Second Amendment would be brought in support of anything that's being argued against Article 1, Section 13. So in essence, again, you have that two-tier approach. One, anytime a law comes up, the first question is it does it affect the Second Amendment? Does it tie to the Second Amendment? If the answer is yes, that's a Second Amendment issue, like restricting magazine capacity, banning certain guns, that's a Second Amendment issue. Then the second step is then the government must show a history and tradition going back to the founding of the country that whatever this gun control is existed back then, or an analog to it existed back then. Unless both of those can be are the case, then the law would be viewed as unconstitutional. But it's up to the government to show that there was a history and tradition of whatever it is. And there was no history or tradition of banning firearms, like whole classes of firearms back in the founding years, and even up through the Civil War. So, I think we've got a very, 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 very strong case. So that's where we are. Oh, sorry. Go. And then, by the way, then there's also NRA and the NRA and a few other organizations have filed nationally. They're going to come in and they're going to lose in local court, a federal, a lower court. Then they're going to lose in the Fourth Circuit because the Fourth Circuit's already ruled twice that the Maryland assault weapon ban is constitutional. How they came up to that, it makes no sense. Again, this is absurd, but that's how they ruled. We know that. So the next step would be going to the Supreme Court with those cases. Again, the NRA and some of these others. There is a lawsuit brought by the Virginia Shooting Sports Association / NRA that deals with the frivolous lawsuits against gun manufacturers and anybody in the firearms industry. And that one they chose to go at the state level as well. So there will be two things going to the state and others going federally. And important. I watched one of the attorneys. I think it was Washington Gun Law, William Kirk, if I'm not mistaken. He was talking about this issue with the Department of Justice coming in and suing on the assault firearm carry and assault firearm ban. And what he believed, and I think there is something to this, is that they aren't going to come in with their case until at least July 1. So sometime probably early July is when they're going to file. And you might go, why? And what William Kirk said is they're going to be suing based upon the actual enforcement of this law. Right now, it's not enforced. Right now, you can buy whatever high capacity or higher capacity magazines you want. You can buy whatever assault firearms you want. Nothing's being enforced because the law is not in effect. But on July 1, it goes into effect. And at that point, you could be arrested for violations of those things. And that's when he thinks that they're going to step in and come at it from that enforcement angle and say, no, you cannot enforce this law. It's unconstitutional. And there the battle goes. So they're coming from a different angle. for that, we'll need to be patient. If we're lucky, somebody will get a stay on all of this. Either VCDL/GOA will get a stay at the state level to say this law is not going into effect till it's heard, or maybe they'll get something going at the federal level. I kind of doubt that, but maybe when the DOJ steps in, they could pull some magic and get a stay on it. So we've got, all I can say is they picked the wrong state to do this in. I don't know of any other state that's had this many gun organizations from around the country jumping in and filing all these lawsuits. I mean, including California. I don't know if they've ever seen anything like this. I mean, I think it's because Virginia's purple. Before it was deep blue states getting this stuff, and they didn't get as much attention. But we're purple. This should never have happened here. Not all this extreme stuff. And I think that's part of why it got so much attention. Not to mention Virginia's history is where the freedom began in America. But it's going to be interesting. They've really, I think the state's bitten off way more than it can chew. We'll see.
So another question we got was, will you be able to take your firearms to the range? And the question was specifically about a CZ Scorpion, but that was one of the questions that was asked.
Yeah, yes, and the answer is yes. You can, in fact, you can take it almost anywhere as long as you are transporting it, not carrying it. Carrying it means that the gun is within your arm span. It's something you can easily get to and put into action, like laying on the seat next to you or on your hip, or again, within your reach. But if you unload the gun, lock it out of reach, especially locked in a container of some sort, then you're transporting the gun. And in which case, the law allows you to go, to and from the range if it's unloaded and you're transporting it, and to and from dealers, and pretty much any place you could legally transport it to. You just can't carry it in public. So that gun has got to be unloaded and locked out of reach. But oh yes, you'll be able to go to the shooting range. You'll be able to take it to get it fixed, and so forth. Now,
right. What about leaving guns in your car when you go into a restaurant to eat or something like that?
Yeah, there you need to have your gun locked in a hard-sided container. And also, they do allow you to use a glove box and a console if it has a lock. If it doesn't lock, you can't leave it there. But if it locks, you can put the gun there. So again, obviously, you could put it in the trunk. But again, the law doesn't say that if it's in the trunk, you don't need a hard-sided container that's locked. So that part again, because these people don't know what they're doing, they don't think about the things like that. But basically, that's what you have to do. I will say that if you forget and your gun gets stolen from your car because you didn't have it secured, as long as you notify the police within 48 hours of that theft, you're exempt from being charged from the law. They cannot charge you with that class 4 misdemeanor because you didn't lock it up, as long as you report it right away.
Now, does this apply to just handguns, or does it apply to long guns as well? Because not everybody has a way to lock up their long guns.
It's just handguns. At one time, it would have been all of that. But again, it got changed over time, and the final version of it is just handguns.
All right. And yes, you can carry multiple magazines with 15 rounds or less on your person. It doesn't limit the number of magazines, just their capacity. So Tony Pendleton is asking about the 2A sanctuaries that the sheriffs say they're not enforcing the laws, not arresting for violations of the unconstitutional laws. Can they lose their jobs if they don't enforce them? Okay.
All right. Let me set that aside for a second. A couple things on the magazines. As long as you bought the magazine before July 1, you can have it on. You can have as many magazines that hold more than 16 rounds as you wish. But and your gun can have my Glock. I'm sorry, my Sig 365. I plan to carry with 17 rounds in the gun. and at least a 17 round on my hip. So that's all fine and dandy. But you can't buy new stuff and after July 1. And let's see, there was one other point I was going to make. I'll have to think about what that was. Oh, I know. Gilbert Ambler put up a video where he was talking about PDWs, personal defense weapons, like the SIG Flux 365 that I have. He said, looking at the law, he believes that as long as while you're in the car, you can have that gun, it can be loaded in a closed compartment or container, because Virginia law, one of the exemptions for carrying concealed is that the gun can be left in a vehicle. As long as you're in the car, it can be in a vehicle, it can be in a closed compartment or container. So that could be a glove compartment with the latch, a center console with the latch, anything like that. Just can't be laying on the seat out in the open, is my understanding of that. So that, and the way how he came up with that is they gave a list of exceptions to the carry in public law that go back to the concealed carry exemptions. And one of those exemptions is a firearm, a handgun that's in a glove box or console. And that's why he said PDW, because I get that would basically, I think, fall usually under the handgun class. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out. Now back to the sheriffs and Commonwealth attorneys that are saying that they're not going to enforce these crazy assault weapon ban and assault ban carry laws. No, they are constitutional officers. They're not appointed by the General Assembly. General Assembly doesn't have any way to reach out and touch them. They're independent of them. So no, and a Commonwealth attorney has prosecutorial,
Discretion.
discretion is the word I'm looking for. Prosecutor discretion. So they can choose not to basically enforce anything they want. Now, you can kind of cast your eyes up to Northern Virginia and Fairfax County and that Commonwealth attorney that's letting people go left and right if they're illegal aliens. So they do have that kind of power. So when they say, I think this is unconstitutional, I'm not going to enforce it, there's nothing the General Assembly can do. The best they could do is if that person wanted to become a judge, then maybe they could have some power over him saying, well, if you're not going to prosecute these, then we'll make sure you don't ever become a judge. Well, other than that, they have no legal authority over it. And then the same thing with the sheriff, constitutional officer. He's elected. Both the Commonwealth attorney and the sheriff don't answer to the General Assembly. They answer to you. You're the one that put them in office. So keep that in mind. So, that's...
So, going back to vehicles and transportation, Dee Dee Bruno asked, how do these transportation rules apply to an SUV when you don't have a dedicated trunk or something like that?
Locked up, out of reach. I would put it all the way in the back of the SUV, completely away from me and locked up. Ammunition locked up separately.
Yeah, hard case. And as far as leaving it in a vehicle, again, that applies to handguns, and you can get a safe that they originally wanted you to attach it firmly to your vehicle and have the safe out of sight, which is next to impossible in any modern vehicle. But now the safe doesn't have to be out of sight, but it should be attached to your vehicle, because otherwise they'll steal your safe and your gun. And honestly, we agree that it makes sense to have some sort of safe in your vehicle. I have one in mine. Philip has one in his. I don't know about Jill's because I haven't been in hers. But we disagree that there should be a law that mandates this. It's up to you what you do, but we advise people if you have to leave your everyday carry behind because you're going into one of these defense-free zones that they've created everywhere, then you should make arrangements to have it secured somewhere that'll at least slow down a criminal trying to steal it. let's see. On the magazines, Derek 3154 asked, "How do they know when you bought it?"
Yes, they don't, and
Uh,
and they,
Magpul does have date codes on their magazines, but most manufacturers do not.
that's interesting. Yes, you'd want to check that. I've got a Magpul. I'll have to check it. You're saying even on their 30 rounders, they have a date code
Yeah,
on
I
there?
think they have a date code on there.
Okay. All right. So there's
And
one thing. Yeah.
mhm. Now, and if it's a newer model firearm or something like that, then, if it's something that was actually introduced after the ban, then that's an obvious gimme for the prosecution. Wrench had asked, so if John Smith is going through an ugly divorce and has to transfer his firearms due to a restraining order, what happens to his AR-15 and can he get it back after the order is dismissed?
That's a good question. You're you're allowed to transfer your firearms to somebody, that doesn't, that's changing too. It's got to be somebody 21 years or older. They can't live with you. Or you could pay a dealer to hold on to them. But yeah, that's not, the law didn't really address that one way or the other. You're not supposed to be allowed to transfer these things, but that's a temporary transfer. That's a really good question. I'm going to have to get a hold of our attorneys and ask them how that would be handled. I can't believe they would put you in an impossible situation there. I would think the courts wouldn't allow them to say, "Oh, well, no, you can't get your gun back because you did a temporary transfer due to a restraining order or something like that." But I'll have to check. Very good question.
Yeah,
Um,
so I just looked it up and it says the center, there's a circle on your Magpul magazines, and the center is a 2-digit year of manufacturer, and then the number 1 through 12 on the outside ring is the month, and there's an arrow pointing at the specific month it was produced. So, yes.
I'm
Um,
going to grab a different. That Magpul also makes magazines for for the Sig 365 and
and
they
Glock.
and Glock. I'm looking. I've got. Um, I had looked into this because I thought at some point people after July 1 might want to get a magazine for like their 365. They can't get a 17 round. SIG, I'm sorry, for the SIG 365, they can't get over 15 rounds legally after July 1. The only thing SIG offers for a 365 that's small is a 10 rounder. They don't have a 15 round magazine, but Magpul makes
Mm,
one. And so
yeah,
that way, at least you could get the maximum after July 1 if you were new to this or you didn't get all the magazines you wanted. And I took it to the range and it works beautifully. And I got this with the idea that I could test it, make sure it works well, and then let our members know that, well, if you need a magazine now, here's an option to get 15 rounders for any of your 365s. And
yeah.
so,
Sig does make a 15 rounder for the 365, but I don't know if it'll fit the Legion or the
oh yeah,
macro.
no, it won't. This one fits all of them
Yeah,
because it's the size.
right,
It's a 17 rounder size, but limited to 15. Yeah, the other
right.
15 is only for the smaller ones. This is
Yeah,
universal.
so the X and XL and the baby 365 will all take the 15 round magazines, but I don't think that the macro or the Legion will. The 17 is the minimum on them. Um, let's see, what else have we got? Yeah, so Derek 3154 points out that you need a safe in your vehicle because they don't prosecute the criminals that break into your vehicle and steal your guns.
Yeah.
Um, Rich B804 says, will the Utah non-resident concealed carry permit be of value if Virginia repeals reciprocity with the states?
That will depend if what we do with Utah. if they look at Utah and say, yeah, that's fine, we'll honor Utah, then yeah, because the law does allow us to honor non-resident versions of permits. And so, yeah, but we don't know the status of Utah. If they don't honor Utah, then it won't be any good in Virginia. We're not going to know much until at least December, and so nothing will be changing. Hopefully, should be for the rest of this year. But definitely by July 1 of next year, all this will be in place, and by then we'll know what states we honor, which ones we don't. It's going to be worse for the people that want to travel to Virginia than it's going to be for people that live in Virginia, because we have 29 permitless carry states now. And so you can carry in a whole lot of places, but it's really unfair because some of them won't be able to carry here.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a battle. We'll see how that shapes up, but that was shameless. Again, so much the General Assembly did was shameless. We've had no problems with this. There was no legal excuse to do what they did other than I consider meanness. This was just an in your face, we don't like you sort of thing. That's what it was.
Absolutely. So let's see. Stroud Rowley at 3708 says, do we really need to abide by this BS? What are your thoughts on the Virginia Supreme Court ruling of the validity of this in the future?
Okay, we think that, I think there's an excellent chance the Supreme Court will strike this stuff down here in Virginia. We'll see, but I do believe, it's just almost impossible for them not to, because we know like the AR-15 is the most popular rifle. So looking at the Heller decision, the most popular guns like that, they are covered and protected. And so we'll see how all this pans out. But and as far as ignoring this stuff, some of it you can't because you have no control. For example, the dealers are not going to be able to sell you an AR-15 after July 1. They simply can't do it. They won't be able to do it. There's no way around it. Or for you to get a way around it, would be to have them sell to you. Now you're both in jeopardy of going to jail. So that's just not going to happen. It's not even fair to consider asking a dealer to do anything like that. So that you're stuck with because you've got another person that's involved. Now, if it's just you, you could go to North Carolina, pay cash for a magazine, throw the receipt away, throw the box away, throw the magazine in your trunk. And unless it's a stamp magazine, like Pat said, who's going to know when that magazine was made? Who's going to know when you got that? They're not going to know. But you take your chances. If somehow, some way, something happens, you might have to pay the piper there. And also, like these localities that are where again they're not prosecuting for this. Well, there, in those localities, you're in essence protected from being prosecuted. And since they've notified law enforcement, you shouldn't be arrested for any of this stuff. But when you step out of that locality, that's where things could change. But I think we're going to see more of this happening. I'd love to see it spread across the state. Where they just tell the General Assembly, we're just not doing it, and it would only probably be little patches in where we got localities that are not Constitution or Second Amendment sanctuaries that would be honoring these horrible laws.
Okay, yeah, and the other thing to take into consideration is, yes, it's an unconstitutional, well, they're all unconstitutional laws, but if you are charged, even if you are guaranteed to beat the rap, you still have to go to court, hire the lawyer, pay all the expenses, blah, 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 and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars. So those are considerations. If you want to take on that burden, more power to you. But there's a lot of people that simply can't afford to do that.
Yeah, that's up to you. The whole idea of civil disobedience is a very personal thing. And, people do civil disobedience all the time. You're not out to hurt anybody with what you're doing. And them telling you can't buy these things is ridiculous because vast majority of gun owners in Virginia, the vast majority are not criminals. They're not going to harm anybody with any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're banning it because they don't want us to have guns at all, and they especially don't want the good people to have them. So that's what we're doing. Now, let's talk about in the home, because how you store your guns in the home is often a common question. Our lawyers have looked at this, and right now the way the law is set up, the new one coming into effect says if you've got a minor in the home or you've got a prohibited person in the home, if the gun isn't on your person, then it's got to be stored unloaded in a locked container. Or if it's a certain type of container, like one with biometrics on it or one with a code that you can put in, then the gun can be loaded in that container. Now, our lawyers have looked at this, and based upon another law that they just passed, as long as you, the parent, give your minor permission to have access to firearms, then you don't have to lock the guns up in the home because you've given your minors permission to have access to them. But if your minor child brings in a friend, then you have no control over that, and therefore then your guns would have to be locked up in the house because that's not your child that you gave permission to have guns. So then you'd have to lock up your guns. Again, thank heavens they threw out some of the worst part of this. At one time, they wanted you to lock up your ammunition too. And, for those of us that have a lot of ammunition, that could have been, I think these legislators, if they don't know what they're talking about, they think if you have 50 rounds, wow, who would have 50 rounds? That's such a big number. They don't realize that that's just 10 minutes at the range and you've shot that up. That's nothing. So luckily that's not in there. You don't have to lock your ammunition up. And if it's your child, you don't have to worry about it. If you get a prohibited person in the home or somebody comes to visit that's a minor, then you've got to lock it up. And it's so absurd because that minor could be, a 3-month-old baby that can't even crawl, and you'd have to lock your guns up. So
Right.
that just shows you the stupidity of this stuff. But anyhow, that's the bottom line. That's the important part. If you don't have kids, don't have any prohibited people, and you just go about your life as you have been.
Right. And if they're your kids and you give them permission to have access to the guns, then it doesn't apply. Rich B 804 asks, when is the next chance to vote some of these Democrats out in Virginia? So next year, the entire General Assembly is up for election. The entire House and Senate. And that is our chance to turn this ship around.
Absolutely, yeah. And some people have said, well, the Senate may not change much based upon, I don't know. It just depends. If gun owners get off their rear ends and vote, if everybody gets out there, had enough of this, and gets out and vote, might be surprised what we can do. There's an awful lot of us out there. We estimate at least 2.5 million gun owners in Virginia, maybe more. That's a lot of votes.
So Robert Burton says, so you can order parts for your ARs and your handguns, but magazines can't be ordered that are over 15 rounds after July 1st, and you can still carry concealed.
Yes.
Yes to all of those. So the only thing as far as ordering goes or purchasing, you cannot purchase the banned firearms after July 1st, but you can purchase all of the components for them, including frames or receivers that aren't fully fledged firearms. Well, they're firearms, but they're not put together as a handgun, a pistol, or a rifle. The magazines that come with those guns or the magazines that you buy have to be 15 rounds or less after July 1st.
Right. And keep in mind, semi-automatic is the key here as far as the firearm.
Right.
So if you have they have AR-15s that are pump action. That's actually kind of neat for if you can't have semi-auto. Pump action is actually pretty cool. They have bolt action, essentially you pull back on the bolt as opposed to using the charging handle. They put you can charge it on with a handle on the side, so it's bang, it's pretty quick. So lever action guns, none of that. As long as it's not semi-automatic, you can have all these features on there. You can have basically a gun that looks exactly like a regular AR-15, except it's bolt action or pump action, and you're fine.
Hmm. Yep, and I just got a message from Mark Moran. He's having connectivity issues. He's in an airport lounge, so
Mm,
he's going to try to get in. He's still trying to get a good connection and get in, but we might have to have him on at another time. But
okay.
yeah, scheduling and all that. Let's see, what other questions did we have? Da-da.
The Angela Akers is in there. Haven't talked to her in a long time.
Yeah, Angela's on our pack, and I saw Layla on here. Layla's an executive member,
Hmm.
which means to be an executive member for VCDL, you have to put in some volunteer time and get nominated to be an executive member. So it's for people that go above and beyond as grassroots participation. They take initiative, volunteer to do things. Maybe they work all the gun shows or something like that, and then somebody nominates them, and then we get to pay double dues just to show our dedication. But they are our voting members, and they elect the leadership of VCDL.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
I just say Layla is a good example. I see this a lot where you get somebody uh, from another country that
Hmm.
comes to America and they really fight hard for the Second Amendment because they've lived in a world that didn't have that. Layla was from the Soviet Union, one of the countries that were part of the Soviet Union at one time. And, and she's fiercely protecting that Second Amendment. And I've seen
Right.
this many times. We have members that have come in from El Salvador
Hmm.
and various countries, England, and they're ferocious in their support of it. I love that because they appreciate it more than we do because we're born in a country like this. We kind of take it for granted. They don't take it for granted. They know what it means, and that reminds me, the Four Boxes Diner. Mark Smith did talked about the upcoming uh, Supreme Court cases here in Virginia, VCDLs and so forth that are coming up. And he's very positive, thinking this is going to turn out well. But he also quoted one of our founding fathers, and it was St. George Tucker. And the St. George Tucker noted that the right to self-defense is considered to be the true palladium of liberty. The right of self defense is the first law of nature. In most governments, it has been the study of rulers to confine this right within the narrowest term limits possible. Whenever standing armies are kept up, and the right of the people to keep and bear arms is under any color or pretext whatsoever prohibited, liberty, if not already annihilated, is on the brink of destruction. So he said, we've been saying forever, you lose that Second Amendment, and this is back in the 1700s. He said, you lose that, and you're going to lose everything else. It's all going to go. And they're going to try and limit it as small as they can. And then when it's gone, your liberties will go guaranteed with it. So that's why we're here fighting this.
Yep. And by the way, the fight does cost money. Thank you, Nick, and earlier Wild Bill for reminding people that we work on donations and dues. So membership is $25 a year for an annual membership. And you can do family memberships. Each additional family member is $15 on top of that 25. Contributions to VCDL or the Virginia Citizens Defense Foundation, that logo right there. That is a C3 charitable organization. Both of those, the money goes towards fighting these lawsuits. And we're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars to overturn this mess. So contributions are greatly appreciated. And let's see, we had Rich B 804 say, do we expect the 2027 General Assembly to come back with even more gun control? Yes, absolutely do. We think that they got the worst of it this year because voters' memories are short, and that 2027 is leading up into the election that will unseat, hopefully, a lot of these idiots. And I use the term with all due respect.
Yeah.
But, I hope voters' memories are not that short and they remember. And I hope that people realize, like what Philip said, losing one right, regardless of what that right is a stepping stone, a domino effect to topple them all. And if you care anything about any of your rights, you should be up in arms about this extreme assault on our Second Amendment rights.
I see a couple things here I was going to comment on. Wrenchhead, who comments on a lot of this stuff, he said, isn't it ridiculous that we basically have threaded barrels and so forth on guns that aren't semi-auto, and that's fine, but if it's semi-auto, well, let me just say this. Again, the end goal is complete civilian disarmament. They don't want us to have a gun at all. They want us to be England, where even the police don't carry guns much. That's what they want. Government in total control. Government can do whatever it wants to you. They're fine with that because they figure they're going to be exempt or they'll be part of government. I don't know what they're thinking, but that's what the goal of these people is. Now, so people, again, I've said this before, people have asked me, well, an AR-15, that's a weapon of war, isn't it? And, some people, of course, have called that a modern sporting rifle. And I said, yeah, some people have called it that. It's never been used in war that I'm aware of. I've never heard of an AR-15. Could it be used as a weapon of war? Yes, absolutely. In fact, if the government turns tyrannical, to be honest with you, we're all counting on it becoming a weapon of war. And the other side, the gun control side knows that. That's why they're after the semi-auto AR-15s. They know that that's the most likely way that if a government turned tyrannical, people would fight back. So they don't want it in our hands. And all the more reason we can never give it up. And the next question steps right into that when they say, that was Derek who said, I expect them to add possession in the future. That's what they did in was it Rhode Island that suddenly put in possession. That means that now it's contraband. You have an AR-15, you've got to turn it in because that'd be like you having cocaine. It's contraband. And they didn't try that in Virginia yet. And this would be a really bad state. Let me tell you, they just tried to register some of these ARs and stuff. I think it was in Connecticut some years ago, and only 4% of the people complied. That would be a huge percentage if they tried that in Virginia. I can tell you, people wouldn't comply with turning your guns. It ain't going to happen. And the police are not going to want to have anything to do with that. They are not going to want to have anything to do with it. Oh, there might be a few that would try to enforce it. Average cops would go, no way I'm touching that. No way I'm actually going to confiscate guns from law-abiding people. But we don't want it to get that far. We need to make damn sure clear to everybody that's a third rail. You really don't want to touch confiscation. We're going to fight back and win on this other stuff. Don't even think about it in Virginia. Not going to fly. I know you guys. It's not going to fly, and it shouldn't fly.
Now, Jack is asking, will Form 1s be denied after July 1st? Specifically, turning an already existing assault weapon into an SBR. Now, the state doesn't approve the Form 1s, the federal government does, but they look at the state laws when they do that. If it is already if it's a legally possessed banned firearm, so if it's something that you owned before July 1st that was already in the configuration that after July 1st is banned, and you go to Form 1 that should go through. That being said, there is no exemption in the law for NFA NFA firearms at all. So it would already have to be in that configuration and owned by you before the 1st of July of this year for you to be able to qualify to Form 1 it into an SBR, if that makes sense to you.
So buy the rifle now that you want to make into an SBR, and assuming it's already an assault firearm, is what you're saying.
Right.
Buy
Or
it
pistol,
now.
or
Pistol.
AR pistol, or whatever. And then we had from Barry Reinert, 1768. Can you explain who can serialize an unserialized firearm or receiver? I spoke with 2 different FFLs and got the old shoulder shrug. So it has to be done at an FFL. Not all FFLs have the equipment to do it. Not all FFLs that have the equipment will do it, especially with the Code of Ethics laws that was passed this year, because if an FFL serializes, when an FFL serializes a privately made firearm, they have to put their license number as the first part of that serial number. And so if it is later found at a crime scene, or it is lost or reported stolen and then recovered, or if it's in an accidental injury type of a situation and confiscated, then it will trace back to that FFL, and then they could potentially be sued civilly for having processed and put their serial number on that gun. And I'm hearing from a lot of FFLs that their insurance will not cover them if they serialize privately made firearms. That being said, I do it at my shop, and there are a few others that do it as well, and you can do an internet search and see who. You may have to ship it out of state.
Yeah, if we do have a list, Pat, I mean, we have got time. I mean, we could always put it on our website, too, of those that we know are happy to do this, in which case our members can go there. And now you have time. You cannot buy a kit or whatever that isn't serialized after January 1 that's coming up. And you can't possess an unserialized firearm after July of next year. So there's time in here, but I wouldn't waste much of it. I would start now if you're smart and go ahead and get it over with if you're gonna have these and want to comply with that law and get them serialized. Pat's got a nice laser, very 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 expensive but very nice laser system that I think she uses for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and Angela Akers says, friends are moving away from Virginia, and she's recommended that they stay and fight because it will follow you. Yeah, if you're going to run from this, rent an apartment, because it will domino. We have to stop this cancer here, or it will spread to the entire nation.
Yeah, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. But for some people, when the going gets tough, they run away. Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a battle that's been won by retreating continuously. We can't retreat. Our founding fathers would they would hate us if we retreated from this and turned their bastion of freedom initially and just handed it away because, oh, this is inconvenient. I don't want to fight. I'll go somewhere else and take my toys with me. I have little respect for that attitude. People we're in the fight. We need to protect the next generation. And stepping up and getting into this fight is an American, as red-blooded a thing as you can do. So, we need to stay in the fight.
And be very consistent.
Yeah, freedom and the Second Amendment were born in Virginia. I'll be damned if I'm going to let it die here. And, this is a very strategic move for Bloomberg and Giffords and all of the anti-groups. They have targeted Virginia specifically because it's a proving ground. If they can turn Virginia into California, they can do it to any state in the Union.
Yep.
And so we have to stop this here.
And
Yeah.
they've been doing it for years. It's been a little bit here and there. We saw it back in 2020. That was a big test then. And then, I mean, we got Youngkin, bless him. People fell complacent, and now we are at it again. And this time it's 10 times bigger, if not 100 times.
Part of the formula they use is they get rid of all the moderate Democrats. That's part of the key part of their formula. So you may live in a state where the Democrats are voting okay on guns right now. Well, what they'll do is they'll come in there, and it may have already begun in your state. This is kind of spreading everywhere, and they begin to phase all of them out. They primary them away. They don't give them money. Democrat Party doesn't. So pretty soon, all you've got left are people are on the far left that are anti-gun. And then as soon as they can get a majority at all, that's when it happens. So we're a test bed, and we've got to show that they're going to fail. In fact, it may be our case that ultimately protects the right for all Americans. We'll see where all this goes, but it's very possible that the fight here will finally put this whole issue to rest for everybody. Let's see. There's a question about suppressors. Yep,
Yes.
Pat picked up on it at the same time.
Yeah.
There's nothing different that I know of on suppressors.
Yes and no. So I find it very ironic that in the hearing in subcommittee on the suppressors, we had tons of people testifying, including doctors, that were saying how important suppressors are for hearing health and overall health and safety on the shooting range. And so the $500 tax on suppressors was killed in subcommittee. However, the assault firearm ban specifically says anything that will accept a suppressor that is semi-automatic is an evil firearm. So the intent is clear. Okay, we're going to look good on this side because we care about your hearing. We're not going to tax this safety item. We're just going to make it impossible for you to buy the host firearm that will use that safety item. And they will go back for the bolt action and the pump action rifles and shotguns later on.
If we don't stop it.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the left hand giveth and the right hand taketh away. Yeah.
I would note, Pat, that what you're talking about applies to rifles. Mm-hmm. Handguns can have a threaded barrel and still be carried. So putting a suppressor on a handgun isn't you can do that. You'll still be able to do that and not have an assault firearm. But for a rifle, she's right. You want to suppress your AR or an AK or something that you can have that gun if it exists now, but you won't be able to carry it in public.
Right.
So.
And yes, that this is, Derek brings up a good point about using the tax dollars against you. This is lawfare. It is exactly what it is. Especially things like the standard of conduct for anybody selling anything even remotely firearm related. That is to choke off the supply through legislation. And make no mistake, they are making it super expensive for gun dealers to even exist. They're making it highly unattractive for distributors and manufacturers to ship firearms or any firearm-related product to Virginia. They tried to put excise taxes on ammunitions and firearms. That did not pass, fortunately, but it will be back. You can count on that. So they want to make it prohibitively expensive to do business and prohibitively expensive for you to be able to afford to buy these things. If they can't ban them outright because the pesky Constitution of Virginia and the United States won't let them, then they'll just make it too expensive to afford. And that's the same thing that they do with the carry permits. The whole point of permits in the first place was to prevent undesirable people from being able to protect themselves.
Yeah, because their lives were unimportant.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Anything else you want to cover, Philip? And I'm going to go back and see what other questions we have.
I was trying to think if there were any other legal changes that we wanted to talk about. Um, I
Do you
think
want to
we.
touch on the red flag laws expansion a
Oh,
little bit?
yeah, yeah. Well, we knew this was coming. The whole idea of red flag laws is a way to disarm. Again, they want to disarm us, so they're coming at. They're making it hard to purchase things. They're making it hard to carry things. What they're also doing is they're trying to restrict people and make them prohibited for a variety of things. All these misdemeanors. And we knew that they were going to do that. Misdemeanor was never meant to take away civil rights. Democrats don't care about that. That's just a constitutional thing. Who cares about the Constitution? So they're looking at more ways to take our guns away from us. So of course they're expanding the red flag laws. We knew that was coming. The way it is right this minute, only a prosecutor, Commonwealth attorney, if you will, or a police officer can request such a thing, and only after they've done an investigation to show that it's justified. Maybe they looked on your social media, saw that you were suicidal, whatever, and then a judge has to look at all that and make the final decision whether there's really a fire or where there's smoke. But of course, they want to change that. Now they're going to have it so all kinds of different people, family members and stuff, can all red flag you. So they're opening the doors nice and wide for people with a vengeance against you to have your gun snapped away, and it can be up to 2 weeks before you even have a chance to rebut what's happened. And again, they'll show up at your door and you won't even know it's coming. If it's somebody being vengeful, they'll just be there saying, "Well, we came for your guns."
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're expanding that. Schools are being one of the new laws is to educate schools on how to use red flag laws and so forth. So they're really trying to make this so it's just so easy to snap away your guns,
Right.
and they can
And
just keep renewing it as long as they feel like.
the way the new school red flag edition is written, um, they can red flag a student and then come and take that student's parents' firearms out of the house. That's scary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it, it's really insidious the way that they use all of these workarounds and um, try to disarm people. Expanding all of these places where you have to leave your gun in a car and then wanting to penalize the person that's forced to leave their firearm in a car and then it gets stolen because, I mean, let's face the facts. If I'm a criminal and I want a gun, I know I can't go to a gun store and buy one, but I'm pretty sure I can go to one of these defense-free zones and just start breaking into cars, and probably every fourth or fifth one, I'm going to hit the jackpot.
Hmm.
Yeah, we need to
Going,
somehow get that red flag struck down as
yeah,
unconstitutional.
going
Mm-hmm.
going back to that red flag, especially in the schools. I mean, if you look at it from a broader sense, they're actually using our children to do that now. I mean,
Right.
they have weaseled themselves into our school systems, and I understand, implementing gun safety classes and all that other stuff. I personally think it's up to the parents, it's up to the guardians of the children. But now it's actually turning kids against their parents. It's turning kids against one another. I mean, it's. I think Pat said it best. It's insidious. It's just dirty. It's very dirty.
The
Right.
other
And
side doesn't play fair. They're out to get our guns, and the end justifies the means. Constitution be damned. It's serious. This is all very serious. At some point, this has all got to stop, and we're just going to have to stop it. We cannot turn a blind eye, make this the new norm. but it's going to be a battle because some of the red flag is kind of hard to fight because people that are involved in it, it may be over before you have a chance to get it to court, and then it's moot. But I would think, especially that one about kids, where their red flag carries over to the parents. I would think that's one that could be challenged in court as unconstitutional.
Yeah, and Rich B points out at least we defeated the gerrymandering of the districts, that special election in April. Um, Dan Helmer, bless his heart, posted on social media something about the judge that struck that down is the General Assembly appoints the judges. They elected the judges through the General Assembly, and he said, well, that judge won't be reelected to office. And I thought, wow.
That's a threat.
That is a threat against a sitting judge. Isn't that illegal?
A sitting
So,
judge that
yes.
Mark Warner actually got
Appointed.
got
Yeah.
a yep.
Well, these gun controllers have anger management issues, and believe me, Helmer falls in that category. Clearly, he's got anger management issues.
He's
Mhm.
he's that child that I thank thank the Lord I didn't have a child like that. My child has more emotional intelligence than Dan Helmer, and my kid is
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Yep.
Dan likes to wrap the flag around him because he serves in the military. But
Yeah,
it's like he didn't understand why he was serving. It's like, no, you're serving to protect the Constitution, yet in the General Assembly, you're destroying it. That
Right.
makes no sense. So how do you wrap yourself in the flag while burning the flag? Seems like that would be a stupid thing to do.
he's not.
Good.
Isn't he the one that had the argument? I can't remember who was it. Serval and him that had the argument during the committee hearings and stuff like that over what a handgun and a pistol were. And I think it was in defense of this bill, and they just got into the biggest argument over definitions and everything. I was just like, y'all make them up. I mean,
Hmm.
why are you arguing?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all made out of whole cloth,
I mean, they
Hmm.
constantly. I mean, Dan Helmer. I mean, y'all have to if y'all want a good laugh. I'm serious. I go through go through X or Twitter or whatever it's called now. Find Dan Helmer's account and find his videos that he does. He is he is
Jill,
very
you got to
funny.
warn people if you're going to do that, have
Yeah.
something you can throw up into,
Yes,
convenient,
I
but
was
you
gonna
don't
please.
mess your
say
keyboard up.
do it on an empty stomach.
But
Yeah.
That's a
yeah,
good idea. Well, you can still throw up bile. I mean,
but
Uh,
I mean, most of it is hilarious, especially if you understand the constitution or know how to comprehend context. He went out after bless I can't remember his Ren. Oh, he's doing such a good job. Williams.
Ren
Ren
yeah,
Williams.
Ren
Yeah.
Yeah,
Williams.
Hmm.
he is fabulous, and he went after him over a post about Ren pointing out that Dan Helmer and Abigail Spanberger were from New Jersey, which I mean, if you know the Constitution or how Virginia works versus New Jersey, we're actually a similar in legislative uh, build, but we're here in Virginia are a little bit more um, everything moves a lot faster
Hmm.
during session. And Ren was pointing that out, and Dan used it as an opportunity to call him a racist and a bigot. nowhere,
Yeah.
nowhere in Ren's
Where does?
post did he bring
Yeah.
up anything like
That's
that.
just a go-to to
New
try to shut
Jersey.
somebody up. Oh,
Yeah.
you're a
That's
racist, so now you're supposed to shut up.
Ren
That's
just
the I'm out of arguments
yes,
line. That
Yeah,
I don't
yes.
have anything to rebut you, so you're a racist.
He
right.
was.
Well, if
I
you
want
if you
to.
like hypocrites, Dan Helmer is great on hypocrites. If you're into
Yes.
watching people be hypocrites, I call him Tyrant Dan Helmer because I
Hmm.
think that's a good title for him. It's better than delegate. Tyrant Dan
Yeah.
Helmer. That's what he wants to
Yeah.
be.
And we have a new name for our governor. It's Grabigail Banberger. So that is her official title now. I do want to bring up what Mike Niznik, and I hope I didn't butcher your last name, said that people who just want to be left alone need to get involved. Absolutely. We've been preaching that for so long. We can no longer sit on the sidelines, hide our light under a bush.
No.
We need to be loud and proud. We cannot be the silent majority any longer. There are, what, 700,000 permit holders in
Hmm.
Virginia? Is that right, Philip?
At least,
And
yes.
and that's not all the gun owners. Not all gun
Mhm.
owners have concealed handgun permits.
Mm-mm.
So, I mean, it would put us up probably close to 1 million gun owners
Oh, we
in
probably got more than
Virginia.
that. I think we probably got
You
two and a
know,
half million at least.
yeah.
Um,
So we cannot afford to sit by and say, oh, well, it doesn't affect me, or somebody else will do it, or I don't want my neighbors knowing that I own guns, so I'm not going to speak out, or I'm afraid of the repercussions, or my favorite is I don't want to be on a list.
yeah, you're on the list.
Yeah, yeah. The harder you try to stay off a list, the more
Or
lists
you
you're going to
are.
be
Yeah,
on.
welcome to the 21st century. Those
Uh-huh.
people that think that I compare it to somebody in the water swimming in the ocean and seeing a shark coming up and going, "Well, I just want to be left alone." Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean the shark's going to leave you alone, but
Right.
and that's what it is with the gun control crowd. I just want to be left alone. Well, good luck with that because they're not going to leave you alone.
No.
You're on the menu, so you either fight back or they're coming after you. So
I would
that
rather them know my name.
just be yeah, I like that, Jill. Yes.
You should know my name.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you should definitely
Yes.
know my name because
That
I'm not putting up with this. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And if your local representatives do not know you and recognize you when they see you walking down the street, you are doing something wrong.
Yep.
So, absolutely.
Yeah, here we go. Rich says if these laws are overturned, the end result is going to be Virginia will be the most armed state in the country. I do believe with gun sales numbering it I've been seeing. Yes, we were like second in the nation for gun sales. We were just behind Texas. So we were
Yeah.
beating Florida and states that have much bigger populations.
Hmm.
So all this stuff is doing is I mean, I know how many magazines I now have that I wouldn't have had it not been for this coming ban. Yeah, I bought my Flux now because it wouldn't be allowed after the ban, and I'm just the tip of the iceberg. There's going to be all of you out there buying new stuff. And right when this goes down, and we're going to take it down, then gosh, there'll be just so many more guns. So it's all going to backfire on the gun control groups. They just never learn. It's not going to work. We're not going to let them. We're not going to let them win. They're only gonna make us more convinced that we cannot give up our guns, and we're going to buy more of them and make sure more people are gun owners. So this is going to blow up in their
Yeah.
face, and we need to make damn sure it does.
Let me bounce something off of you here, and I cannot take credit for this. My husband Stephen came up with this idea. We gave Governor Youngkin a challenge coin with his face on it because of all of the vetoes that he did on the Second Amendment bills. Should we come up with an award for Abigail Bamberger as the gun salesman of the decade or something like that? I mean, she has done more for firearm sales in Virginia than anybody I can recall in the last probably 10 or 20 years.
Presenting
Yeah,
it to her, Pat, would be hard. That her office is so disorganized. I have called multiple times just trying to get through as a normal constituent. Nope, you go to voicemail, and then voicemail says the mailbox is full. And if you email them, they won't email you back. If you try the contact form on their site, they don't contact you back. They're just totally disorganized.
Um,
let's make figure it out. We can make an appointment. I will absolutely take up tap dancing to deliver it to her personally. I will do this for us. I what is it? Katniss Everdeen, whatever her name is, whatever those movies. I I will deliver.
yeah,
I will.
Wrench Head says the poop emoji on a coin comes to mind.
Yeah, I don't don't know that I would put poop down that low.
Had
Yeah, that
had
would
her
be an
say,
insult to the poop. I mean,
Yes, I think it would. I mean, if I
her
was poop, I
whole,
would
yeah,
protest that.
yeah, for real.
hmm
No,
You
it's
messed
sad. It is
my level
totally
of poop.
sad. And it's sad that some people voted for her because she was in law enforcement.
Who
You
hmm
know?
cares?
And what?
You know, who
You
cares?
know? You got people like Helmer that were in the military, and look at what they're doing. So you can't go by what they did in the past. Um, so
Rich said yeah.
Give one to Jay Jones for not mastering second grade spelling.
yeah. And filing in the wrong court. We figure we're in good shape. He's defending all this stuff that we're suing for. So he'll probably
Yeah.
file in some court in Connecticut. I
It's
mean, who knows?
it's sad that my 9-year-old, when reading it, bless him, he gets it honest, but when reading it and discussing that with my husband and sitting there and showing my husband, my kid, of course, is like, I want to see. And my 9-year-old says, that is not how you spell Virginia. I mean,
Yeah. Or how,
I wish I got that on video because that would have been, I'd be like, that.
or how you spell attorney. He couldn't even spell his own title right. He had a Tony General.
Oh, it was on his branding. It was like part of
Mhm.
his. Sorry, but I do think, like I do, yeah. I'll deliver a certificate for
Well, and
spelling.
Angela Akers says if you do it, she wants video.
I will we will make this. I will take up tap dancing. I will do it. I was more so.
Maybe you and Pat can do,
We
tap
can do a little
dancing together
thing,
down there.
do a I mean, I've seen Abigail dance, on those videos
Oh,
with her at the
oh,
school. So
oh, okay.
I would absolutely, Dancing with the Stars. I would outdo Abigail.
Yeah.
It would be my honor. I will do it.
Yeah. Oh, while we're on the subject of education and spelling and so on and so forth, I just want to throw this out there. We're running an hour and a
Yeah, it's
half
time to
here,
shut
so we're
down.
going to bounce off of here pretty soon. But Jill has done a fabulous job of putting together a history of the Virginia flag thing for school kids. So if you have school age kids and they go to a private school and are interested in it, hit up academy.director@vcdl.org to get more information. And she's working on other programs as well, Second Amendment related. So um, you put it in one school so far? You took it to your
But
son's
it's
school?
it's my son's school. He's kind of like the beta test right now. They really liked it. It's a story like it's a kid's third grade through fifth grade. It's got the imagination, the creativity behind it. It's a coloring book that the lead character in it is Virtus, who is Virtue from the Virginia flag. The lady with you know the boob hanging out. But we did a boob check. We had the
Oh, yeah, I was going to
illustration
ask you about that.
Sanitized it for the age group,
yes,
yeah.
for the littles, but I want to do things for age groups, and then I want to follow that up with other like Virginia history. But anyway, Versus takes these two little ones, that one's in third grade, one's in fifth grade, and they go on a journey back in time, and they find out why Vertus or is in the Virginia flag, and she takes them through, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, George Mason, as they're sitting there and putting together the Virginia Constitution, and yeah, it's a bunch of little goodies like that, but it's also a coloring book. So I have that, and I have some others that we're kind of putting together. My son wants to add some aliens to one, so we're trying to.
Illegal aliens
I
or
don't
illegal
know.
aliens from outer
So
space?
he's talking about UFOs and robots and
Oh,
things like
okay.
that. So we're
hmm
trying to separate his imagination a little bit from what he wants to do.
So how are we going to send them back to their original planet if we catch them here illegally?
Yeah. So, but and do they? when they file for residency, do they do they get to get AR-15s? We'll see. But
I don't know, but
yeah, so
I don't
we'll see.
think
Not in Virginia. I mean, not right now.
right.
We'll see.
I don't think ray guns are on the banned list yet.
We have some, maybe my kid's onto something. We'll see. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
we'll work on it. But it's a lot of goodies, and I'll have some pictures and some uploads and stuff like that on the website soon, so people can kind of check it out. I have some
Yeah,
little.
give me an alert item when you're ready.
Right.
It's adorable. So my kid's teacher said so, and his superintendent liked it. So we'll
Okay.
see.
Yep. All right. Philip, do you have anything else
No,
that
no.
we need to cover? Jill, do you have anything else we need to cover?
Nope. Just
Uh,
go ahead and
um,
kick off Monday, January 18th for VCDL Lobby Day.
yes.
Thank you.
Always MLK Day. Sorry we can't have it in the summertime when the weather is warmer, but the General Assembly's not in session. It wouldn't do any good. No, we are not planning any more rallies this year. We need to focus on the lawsuits at this point. Rallies will not do any good. The General Assembly and the government has already done all the damage they can do for this year until session starts in January. So, thank everybody for being here. Do all the YouTube things and the Facebook things and share this video. We really need your help getting the word out there. So, please remind people if they couldn't tune in tonight. I know it's a holiday weekend. I appreciate all of you being here. We all appreciate you being here. And yeah, we will be here on the second Sunday in June. We moved this one because of Mother's Day, but going back to our regular schedule in June, and we're looking for a place for the June in-person meeting. So if you have an idea, email president@vcdl.org. I think I hit all the points.
Yeah.
So.
And if you're a member of a hunting club in Central Virginia area, let me know. I'd love to come out and speak to the club. We need to get hunters on board, so I'll put something in the VA alert about this soon.
Yep. All right. So, with no further ado, we are going to say goodnight. And you can find the recording of this on VCDL YouTube channel under the Live tab. So, have a great night, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. Stay dry and stay safe. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you in the fight.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.